Well, I've been teaching at the University of Pittsburgh since believe it or not, 1969. The year the Black Studies program was established, and one of the demands of the students in establishing a Black Studies program, they wanted more Black faculty. And so the history department put out a call, I guess. And I was very excited to come here. And I've been here, I thought I'd only be here a few years, but Pittsburgh was very appealing, good department, good people, and here it is over 50 years. So we did a book then called August Wilson, Pittsburgh Places in His Life and Plays, which is really a condensed version of what I'm doing here. It involved an essay with the history of Black Pittsburgh, an essay on August Wilson's brief biography of him. And then we went by a series of places in the Hill District that have significance for the plays. That is, they're often settings for some event, or maybe they are the setting for the entire play itself. And so that was a lot of fun, and it really, really put Pittsburgh front and center in the study of Wilson, and helped put really Pittsburgh on the world cultural map, I would say. Well, Wilson put it on the world cultural map. We just helped. But to the extent that today, when people think of the Black experience in 20th century urban America, they're as likely to think of Pittsburgh as they are of Harlem. Say, historically, it was all Harlem. Well, now it's Harlem or Pittsburgh, and really, certainly for theater goers, it's Pittsburgh. So around the world, Pittsburgh is well known by the plays of August Wilson. Well, there is the most important place is simply his neighborhood. That is, his home still stands. It's been remodeled now. And that was a big formative influence on his life. His childhood years he spent there on in the Hill District. He had a family, the Burleys, who lived across the street from them. And Charlie Burley was a leading prize fighter, should have been the lightweight champion of the world if they'd have given him the fight, but he refused to. He was too honest. So the guys who booked the fights didn't want to deal with him because they couldn't make the sort of money off of him they could others. But anyway, he became Wilson's big kind of surrogate father. Wilson had mixed feelings with his own father. His own father was a German immigrant who was a baker. He had problems drinking, was his handicap. He was afflicted by alcoholism, and August had a mixed relationship with his father. He ultimately he loved and admired his father, but growing up, he sort of idolized this Charlie Burley, the boxer across the street. So Burley made a big impact on him. His mother, who was from North Carolina, had a very big impact on him. She's a very strong woman, physically and psychologically. And you'll see in his plays, the female characters are strong. The women in his life are strong. He always liked strong women. There was a lively art scene in the Hill District that August grew up in. He wasn't like a flower that was blooming in the desert. There were plenty of guys around him who were interested in poetry, in theater, in art, music, and the like. His good friend Rob Penny, who grew up not far from Wilson's home, was a very good poet and really an inspiration for August. Introduced August to the idea of the Black Power movement, Malcolm X, things like that, poetry, and then led August into theater because Rob Penny was interested in theater. Well, it will. It means a lot. It means a lot, both for the study of August Wilson, and it will attract scholars from really around the world who will be coming here to examine the archives, because there's a great thirst, a great desire to know more about Wilson and tie him in to Pittsburgh. And it's so appropriate. The archive could have gone to all sorts of other places, all sorts of places were competing for it. But given that his plays are set in Pittsburgh, it's really very meaningful that his archive also be here in Pittsburgh. And it's been supplemented by really the Rob Penny papers. They also recently acquired the Rob Penny papers. They're working on maybe acquiring some collections of photographs of August and the people around him. So it's really a snowballing the interest in Wilson and collecting materials on him. Well, the one thing is, August Wilson was a poet before he became a playwright. Poetry was his first love, and poetry was what these early Black intellectuals in the Hill District were into. They were really poets. Rob Penny was a poet. Nick Flournoy was a great poet. Charlie Williams was an outstanding poet. And so poetry is really his focus. When he became a playwright, he turned the poetry into dialogue. So the dialogue in Wilson's plays really is free verse poetry. And I didn't really know that. Well, I couldn't recognize a poem if it didn't rhyme till I started this study of Wilson. But if you look at the cadence, the meter, the rhythm of the language in that, one of the things that makes Wilson's plays so attractive is that it's really because it's poetry. It's not just very good transcriptions of how people talk, but they're really turned into poetry. So I thought that was really an important part of understanding Wilson and his appeal.